It's the NFL's greatest season ever on home video. We've taken the best of the best to bring you NFL football that'll grab your gut and cling to your memory. It's like the greatest to the third power. 3 volumes of NFL's greatest ever videos packed in one full-strength gift set. The plays, the players, and the game. This collection, hosted by Steve Zabel, offers the greatest catches, throws, tackles, players, performances, and much more. How much greatness can you handle? Team, nice concept, in life and on the field. The ones you stick by. Here are all the moments you most want to remember from the '94 season. 28 NFL teams, 28 NFL team videos, plus 2 expansion teams.
Hi there.
We're all a little nosy. Football's a vocal game. And we don't mean play-by-play commentary. And just what is it that the players are shouting at each other?
Hey, baby! We're gonna be here all day, baby!
Intimidation can be more than physical. Words push their weight around, on and off the field. We've grabbed the choicest sound bites so you can experience football as you've never heard it before. In NFL Turf Talk, the 100 greatest sound bites of the NFL.
This isn't college. You're not at a home conference.
I understand.
This is NFL, which stands for not for long when you make them calls. I'll be selling groceries.
This is 50 minutes of impact, the pure muscle of the game. Schwarzenegger saving the universe. Hey, you tackle problems every day. It feels good to watch someone else do the impossible for a change. It's NFL's 100 greatest tackles. This is going to be the high point of the season. Nothing comes near it, and you'll want to see it again. Superheroes, superpowered. Coming in February on video, Super Bowl 30. You know when good just doesn't come near it, and great is only halfway there. We're talking the greatest. Be sure to own the greatest season ever on home video from Polygram Video and NFL Films.
Who said it couldn't be done?
NFL Quarterback Club 96 sacks the competition with a full roster of gridiron features. Choose from over 800 plays, 3 gameplay modes, NFL play, practice mode, and simulation, custom team and player options. But NFL QB Club doesn't stop there. The top quarterbacks in the game take the field armed with authentic signature plays, 80 yards of viewable field, and new skill moves like the up and over dive. So if you want football, real NFL football, join the club. NFL Quarterback Club 96 from Acclaim.
Get ready to kick some butt.
Scampers over the goal line to score on the year.
We're gonna be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party! Rush the quarterback.
Hi, I'm Steve Zabel of NFL Films, and welcome to the NFL's greatest ever series, celebrating the 75-year history of the National Football League. Now, this is volume 2 of a 3-part series, and we're going to profile football's greatest players, past and present, from Slingin Sammy Baugh to Jerry Rice. But we're going to begin our show with a guy who threw a lot of touchdown passes to Rice. Our choice as the greatest quarterback in NFL history, Joe Montana.
Even in his 16th and final season, Joe Montana still could make it look, oh, so easy.
59 Razor! 39 seconds.
First and goal to go at the 6, 13 seconds left in the game. Montana takes the snap, back to throw, looking right, firing a pass set, and leaping grab, Willie Davis! Touchdown, Kansas City! Touchdown, Montana Magic!
Montana Magic. With it, the Kansas City Chiefs sparkled, winning their first division title in 22 years.
Get in the end zone. Go, Joe. 4th and goal to go. Not a more important play has been performed by the Chiefs than what is coming up right now. Back to pass Montana. Cocks his arm. Looks right. No one there. Looks left. Throws in the end zone. Touchdown! He's done it! Joe Montana has done it again!
Montana Magic. With it, the San Francisco 49ers tapped a rich vein of pure football gold. With Montana at quarterback, they earned the title Team of the Decade with 4 championships in the 1980s. And in his 14 years with the club, Montana earned the league's most valuable player honor twice. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, and 3 Super Bowls ended with his crowning as MVP. He was in every sense a true master of the game.
It's never been a more competitive, a more complete quarterback at understanding our offense and understanding the game itself than Joe Montana.
For all the arguments you receive and the positions that people take as to who is the best, Montana has to be considered the very best when you look at his overall record and his championship games and everything that goes with it.
NFL fans saw the magic of Joe Montana in his first full season as a starting quarterback. There, he drew a line in the sand, a challenge to all opponents that defined his legendary career.
Everything hangs in the balance now. The season, the outcome of a Super Bowl berth hangs in the balance. He has the ball. Montana rolling out the right. Looking toward the end zone. Throwing under pressure. Throws his pass. Caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Clark has it. It's a touchdown for the 49ers.
In defining Montana Magic, the first element was a steely toughness and resilience that focused the efforts of the entire squad.
The teams that have beaten another team by a big margin have come back the next week and played terrible. And that is not going to happen to this ball club. I ain't bullshit. We've opened the door. We're going to go through it next week, and we're going to kick ass and take no prisoners the week after.
But personal success was only gained through fierce struggle, where Montana battled back from injuries that would have ended the careers of less determined men.
He has been a kind of guy for us that is more or less led by example. You look at him, he's just sort of a frail, skinny-looking guy. He takes some wicked shots from time to time, but he comes back every single time.
Montana Magic was also about football smarts and athletic skills. Joe had an instinctual grasp of the game. There he read the field with the sweeping command of a chess grandmaster.
He's got a great accuracy and great touch. And his experience and his knowledge of our offense and where people are on defense, you just couple all that together. And then that little extra special something that no one seems to be able to define. And you got perhaps the greatest quarterback that's ever played.
Montana just knows where everybody's going to be before they get there. And he's like about 4 or 5 frames ahead of what you're seeing. Oh my, what a pass completion! 18-yard touchdown pass. He hasn't thrown a ball harder than that all year. He has not thrown a better pass than that.
But for all his success and superstar status, much of Joe Montana's magic came from the heart. With a natural modesty, he championed the accomplishments of everyone else on the team. And through that, they all shared the victories together.
I think the closeness of our teams really showed up in the way that we played. Being able to want to play not just for yourself, but not to let the guy standing next to you down. That closeness really was a good part of the success.
Also from the heart came a wide-eyed wonder, a love of the game that never left him.
The one thing that stands out is he's, and I've said this number, he's a little boy. I mean, there's a certain youthfulness about him. I mean, it's like he's playing in the playground when you see him on the field. He's having fun playing.
In defining Montana Magic, the final element is certainly the most memorable. the one that stands at the center of his legend. It was his undying belief that no game was ever beyond his grasp.
So there's 2 seconds left. The 49ers will have a chance to throw one. Here's Montana throwing for the end zone. Right place. He's got it. Touchdown 49ers.
He's like Indiana Jones. He can go up against odds, and he just believes in himself. He believes that nothing can stop him. And Joe just has this one tangible that it's hard to describe, but it equals wins.
3rd down. Montana to throw. Throws long for Rice down the sideline. He's on the 30.
He's like a great racehorse. A great racehorse knows when it's a Kentucky Derby. They know when it's important. They know for some reason there's a lot of money on the line. You put Joe Montana in a big game, I don't care if you've had him in an isolation cell for 10 days before that, he'll go out on that field and he'll know it's important and he'll play good.
With 3:10 remaining, the 49ers will have to go from their 8-yard line. Montana back to throw on 1st down. Throws over the middle, completes it to Craig. Craig is to the 16. Montana trying to drive him the length of the field here with the game in the balance. 16-13, the Bengals lead.
Joe Montana, during that drive, he displayed all the confidence in the world, and he never says anything. He's able to do it through his persona, his confidence, the level, the way that he calls the play, the way that he explains it in the huddle, the way that he's able to make it all work.
Montana to throw, completes it up the middle to Craig. Craig is down to the 36-yard line.
And he came into the huddle, and I was like yelling and screaming, come on, let's go. Let's get it going. This is the biggest drive of my life. If we want the ring, we got to go out and get it. And he looked at me, and it was during one of those long TV timeouts they have in the Super Bowl, and he looked at me and he goes, hey, H. You know, that's what he calls me, Harris, H. Hey, H, check it out. I go, what? And he goes, hey, look over there in that end zone. And I look there, and he goes, hey, there's John Candy. And I go, John Candy? And sure enough, John Candy's sitting there eating some popcorn, and I look at him, and I look at the clock, and, there's 3 minutes to go in the game, of the biggest game of the year. And he's so relaxed that, and then all of a sudden the TV timeout ended, and next thing I know, we're marching down the field for the winning drive.
Montana back to throw. Throws over the middle. A fine catch for right to the 20. He's down to the 19 for a 1st down for the 49ers. Go back to throw. He looks. He throws. He completes it to Craig. He's down to the 10. 39 seconds remaining. Throw Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown! Touchdown! A 10-yard pass. The 49ers have scored with 34 seconds remaining. And the 49ers have won the Super Bowl.
You see, when you've got Montana magic, it all looks so easy.
The University of Notre Dame has sent more than its share of players to the NFL. We just saw a feature on an Irish quarterback who was great for many, many years. But what about greatness for a single season? Who had the greatest individual offensive and defensive seasons ever? Well, we selected 2 other Notre Dame graduates, Paul Hornung's 1960 season and Alan Page's 1971 season.
He was football's golden boy, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback from Notre Dame. In 1957, Paul Hornung was the first player selected in the NFL draft. 3 years later, in 1960, under head coach Vince Lombardi, Hornung had the finest offensive season in NFL history. Hornung switched from quarterback to halfback when he joined the Packers. His passing skills helped make him a most versatile player. But in 1960, his ability to score points, an NFL record 176, made him football's most valuable player. In just 12 games, he scored 15 touchdowns, made all 41 of his extra point attempts, and when he wasn't exhausted, connected on 15 field goals.
It wasn't tough if I didn't have to run a 40-yard pattern on 3rd down with her. A lot of times I did. I never said to him, I could have said, Coach, on 3rd down, when it's 3rd and 32 or 3rd and 18, if you're going to throw a long pass pattern, I sure wish you would put Tom Moore in or Elijah Pitts. so I can get a breather. That would have never gone with Lombardi. No. You know, he might have taken you out and left you there.
Lombardi probably never conceived of resting Horning, who, along with fellow Hall of Fame runner Jim Taylor, made up one of football's all-time great backfields. They were a pair that complemented each other on and off the field.
Being the fine person, the high quality values that he had, he certainly had very strong leadership qualities off the football field. Come on, Roy, quit laughing, man. Quit laughing. The broads that he brought in. The broads that he brought in, that's the name of the game. You do your job on the field, and if you're bad on the field, and you be bad off the field with the chicks, all right?
Notorious off-field activities made the Golden Boy a glamour boy. But it was his on-field relationship with Taylor that made him a scoring king.
I used to tell Taylor, I said, look, Jimmy, the reason why you and I get along so well is it's your job to run the football from the 20-yard line down inside the 10. Now, when you get it down there, that's it. That's as far as you go. I don't want you scoring any touchdown because it's my job to take it from a yard in. I can handle that. You know, now if you keep doing it the way you're doing it, we're going to get along well. I'll block for you as hard as I can. I'll do my job, and everything will be fine. Because you're going to run the ball 30 times. I'm only going to get to run it 10. But hopefully my 10 times is inside the 10-yard line. It was that way. You know, but I tell you, Lombardi had a lot of faith in me inside the 10-yard line. And when I understood that, that put pressure on me. It just so happened in the Lombardi system, the very best play on short yardage is the quick trap up the middle. And I could always hit it at a better angle than a fullback.
It's understandable why his coach had faith in him near the goal line, because Vince Lombardi probably saw a lot of himself in Paul Horning.
He's got to be, I would say, the greatest competitor that I've ever coached. The tougher the game, the tougher he played.
Like Paul Horning, Alan Page was a Notre Dame graduate, but alma maters are where the comparisons end for these two. Page was a defensive tackle for Minnesota's famed Purple People Eaters. He came into the league more brain than brute, but by the end of his fifth season, he and his teammates finally began to understand each other. And in 1971, he enjoyed the finest defensive season in NFL history.
When he first came to the Minnesota Viking football team, we thought he was a little different, a little strange. You know, he had his own ways, and he seemed stubborn. We all had to try very, very hard to find a way of putting him in the mix. All the defensive linemen literally taught him everything that we knew, and combined with everything that he knew and his great strength and agility and quickness, you saw him just bloom and burst. I mean, he was just unbelievable. Truly, I can say that Alan Page, his greatness literally changed football, changed the game. Alan was so disruptive in his 71 season that they stopped calling holding because he was disrupting the game. I mean, he literally would not let them get a playoff. He'd just mess up everything.
Kind of revolutionized the position. When you're a defensive end, you know, you protect the backside, you rush the passer, you take care of this and that, but you're not in pursuit. Well, Alan's one of his finest attributes, his quickness, his pursuit, his instincts. So by moving him in on what you call the off tackle many times, being the weak side or the right tackle, he was in on every play.
My view of the world was that from the snap of the ball, the goal was to shut the play off as quickly and as simply as possible. And it didn't have to be particularly spectacular.
It was a safe bet that wherever the ball carrier was tackled, Page would be found. But finding him at the start of the play, now, that was a little trickier.
Alan had the freedom to line up any place he wanted to and to do anything he wanted to do. You know, if Alan saw something, he was allowed to go exploit that. And he was hardly ever wrong. There were times when he would see things that no one else, you know, saw, and they'd say, "What the hell is he doing out there now? Look at him, he's moving over here." And all of a sudden, boom, he's in there, and he's got a sack, or he's got the tackle, or he's got him for a loss.
In 1971, Minnesota's defense yielded under 10 points per game and led the Vikings to the NFC Central title. And at the end of that season, Alan Page opened his own page in the NFL history book by becoming the league's first ever defensive MVP.
A defensive lineman, most valuable player in the National Football League, hey, that is beyond my fondest dreams. So deserving, so deserving.
At the time, it was a little confusing, if you will. Confusing in the sense that it was early in my career, and having been recognized as most valuable player, that's about as high as you can get. And the question which came to my mind was, well, where do you go from here?
Following a 15-year career, Page went home. You see, he's from Canton, Ohio, the home of pro football's Hall of Fame.
Deion Sanders may be the closest thing the NFL has now to a two-way player. But even primetime can't compare to the versatile Slingin Sammy Baugh, who in 1943 had the greatest season ever by a two-way player.
In his day, Washington Redskin quarterback Sammy Baugh was pro football's version of the natural. Baugh was a supremely gifted, charismatic performer whose popularity and winning ways stemmed from a clear set of priorities that were as sharply defined as his passes.
When you're on the field, you've got to feel like you're the best son of a that's out there. That's what you're thinking. Nobody is damn better than I am. Now, when you get off the field, you don't think that way. You're just a football player, and you did your job, and that's about what it amounted to.
The man who was just a football player was, in fact, a superstar with many skills. He was an outstanding quarterback, the greatest punter in NFL history, and a solid starter in the secondary.
Everybody had to be a defensive player back when I started. If you couldn't play defense, they didn't have any place for you. You had to play defense. That's all there was to it.
Sammy Baugh reached the peak of his pro football prowess in 1943. As a defensive back, he led the league with 11 interceptions. He also averaged an NFL best 46 yards per punt and was the #1 ranked passer. It was a triple crown that had never before and has never since been accomplished. He was a lock to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player award, until he met the Chicago Bears and fellow future Hall of Fame quarterback Sid Luckman in the 1943 championship.
Before the game, the coaches put their arms around me and said, "Sid, this is the championship. Everything goes today." So they had me catching punts. And Sammy kicked this punt. It was about a 40, 45-yard punt. I caught the punt. I took 4 steps. I broke to the right. I came down the sideline. And who was there? Sammy Baugh, the kicker and punter. And I said, do I try to elude him or do I try to run over him? It was a decision. There had to be a split decision. I said, no, I'm going to run over him. And with that, I just pumped as hard as I could, ran as hard as I could, raised my knees as hard as I could, and I hit him as he went to tackle. I hit him in the head. And he was unconscious. And he didn't get back in the game till the middle of the 3rd period when he did go through touchdown passes to him before the game was over. But by that time, we were ahead by like 41-14.
That day, Sid Luckman threw 5 touchdown passes, winning the championship for the Bears and overtaking Sammy Baugh in the league MVP voting.
Not so long ago, we talked about that and joked about it on the telephone. And it was just that the way he tackled me was a hard luck tackle.
We do the best we can on the field. We try to beat their butt, but after it's over, you don't have any animosity towards anyone. I never did. Sid and I became real good friends.
Sammy Baugh's career achievements include leading the league in passing a record 6 times, averaging an NFL record 45 yards per punt, and being selected to Pro Football's all-time team. But he never won the Most Valuable Player award for his accomplishments in 1943. Arguably, the greatest season ever produced by a pro football player.
For our selection of the NFL's greatest all-around player, I put forth the name Ken Huff. Now, every career begins on draft day, and the greatest player's career began in the 1975 draft. The Baltimore Colts selected guard Ken Huff with the 3rd overall pick. The 4th pick belonged to the Chicago Bears. They had to settle for a running back from Jackson State. His name, Walter Payton.
I have often said that probably the best running back combination ever in the league would be Walter Payton and any other back.
Keep going, fighting for more yards.
I identify myself as I've played with Walter Payton.
Keep going, fighting for more yards.
He was the best overall football player I've ever seen.
Keep going, fighting for more yards.
What makes a great player? The ability to endure. To be there when you feel like being there and to be there when you don't feel like it. And Walter endured. He was there for 13 years.
High formation, quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it, he's out over the 25 to the 26-yard line. Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher, surpassing Jim Brown.
Keep going,
fighting for more yards. Such a simple philosophy for a most complex player. Who is Walter Payton, the man they call Sweetness?
He is really the Joker.
He came in on a terrible cold day from practice. Somehow he was able to get in early. And he locked the locker room and went in the shower, and the coaches and the players were all outside freezing until the janitor finally let them in.
He'd call my wife at 3 o'clock in the morning or 12 at night and pretend that he was a girl, and he had a very high voice to begin with.
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff. It was fun too.
He was famous for leaping over the pile and infamous for untying shoestrings while at the bottom of it. This mischievous, fun-loving side of Payton's personality was revealed on the field by a quirky little move called the show pony kick.
It's kind of a little signature he had when he'd break out of a pack and get some open ground. He'd make a little jump, actually, and a kind of a stride in midair. And to me, it reminded me of a little show pony galloping around the ring.
While the show pony kick symbolized playfulness, another side of Payton's personality and running style dealt with a steadfast seriousness. He punished opponents, but first, he punished himself.
He had a regimen that was that defied what the U.S. Marines would do.
He ran hills endlessly, could bench press 400 pounds and leg lift 700. He loved to practice. And when this serious side of Payton took the field, the show pony became a rampaging stallion.
I always remember being on the field before a playoff game in '85 and hearing him in the middle of the huddle. And he sounded like a wild man.
Kick ass, let everything hang out. Am I right?
When you got an opportunity to hit somebody and to really nail somebody, that was what the game was all about. And I just didn't want everybody else to have all that fun on defense, so I took a little bit of defense over to the offense. Instead of being hit, I kind of attacked people and I hit them.
Payton was relentless, and he ran with a fury. It was like he was mad all the time.
Just being able to watch him be explosive, I'm telling you, people just didn't want to tackle him. He punished him.
He's a guy that you didn't want to play against week after week after week because you knew he was going to get you.
Every time he had the ball, it was an explosion.
I compared it to bat speed, and when Walter knew he was going to get hit, he put great bat speed on that tackler. I mean, he just exploded into tacklers.
Great strength. He had that flipper, as he called it, the forearm.
Players used to kid about how it was like Popeye's forearm. And if you watch the film, he would use that thing like a club.
ran so hard and so violently, it just didn't seem fair for defenders. Sometimes Sweetness even handicapped himself just to level the playing field.
One time I pulled around the corner and Walter was behind me, and he said, "Don't hit the first guy, hit the second guy." I hit the second guy and sprung him for a long run. So back in the film session, we got a chance to take a look at it. And so my offensive line coach said, "How come you didn't hit the first guy?" Walter whispered to me, "Don't hit him. I got him."
Every time I touched the ball, I was hit, or I was being hit, or I was close to being hit. Whenever I had breakaways, I'd probably have to hit about 4 or 5 people and drag 2 more until they fell off before I had a 40-yard run.
Over his career, he played in 190 out of a possible 191 games. In a battle of survival, he was the fittest.
I had to learn how to survive, otherwise I would have been a statistic.
16,726 yards. If Emmitt Smith were to have 9 more 1,000-yard seasons, he'd still fall short. But Sweetness was much more than just a runner. He played 1 game at quarterback. He threw 9 career touchdown passes, and he threw thousands of devastating blocks. But both his statistics and his versatility will always be overshadowed by his desire. He was only 5 feet 10 inches tall, but no one who ever played the game had a bigger heart than Walter Payton.
Everybody looks at this physical quality or that physical quality and forget about the heart. And the heart's what makes the great ones. Walter Payton, he's too short my butt. I mean, he got the heart.
I can remember a time he had a terrible knee up in Minnesota, and Fred Cato, who was our trainer, said there's no way he can play. He gained 175 yards with a knee that nobody else would have dressed with. I mean, the day he set the single game rushing mark, he had the flu so bad he was throwing up and had a fever, and he ran for 275 yards.
After 13 years, Payton retired. Surely no one had a tougher time saying goodbye to the game.
He lost hard. He lost hard, and that was the ultimate losing, knowing he was walking away from it. He was a warrior. That's the way you have to look at him. And it's hard for a warrior to lose, you know. I can't imagine that Geronimo and Coach Cheese and those guys took it too well when they lost that last time.
Every warrior is remembered for his spirit and his battle cry. When you see a runner fighting for yardage, you'll see Payton's spirit. And if you listen closely, you might hear his battle cry.
Keep going, fighting for more yards, more yards.
Offensive linemen always seem to be undervalued and overlooked. But not in this show. For our selection of the greatest line in NFL history, we've picked a group with an unsurpassed combination of brains, brawn, and bravado. The 1976 Oakland Raiders.
If you don't win the game in the trenches, you're not going to win it. The offensive line is the basic heartbeat of the whole football team, and it has to function. If that heart is not beating properly, if it's not running in sync, you're not going to win football games.
We were a power team. We were a team that we lined up and you knew we were coming. We were coming right at you.
The 1976 Raider offensive line, from those who knew it best.
John Vella, one of the best pass protectors that we had. Very tough mentally and very tough physically. He would just jump into a guy's throat.
George Beeler was a right guard. George went to Stanford, but he had a different way of doing things. You had to draw it exactly the way that it had to be, or George Beeler just wouldn't block it.
Joe Green gave him an ultimate compliment. Joe said, you know what, he is one of the toughest guys I've ever played against, and he's one of the cleanest guys I've ever played against. The guy don't know what holding is.
Dave Darby was our center on that football team, and we used to call Dave the Pig.
Tough guy, wasn't a big guy, but he built himself up to about 265 pounds. Guy played injured, and he just didn't want to leave the field.
The two Hall of Famers who lined up side by side on the left admired each other's talents.
Prototype guard. Could run, big, fast, tall, could drive block, pass protect, could do it all. He used to always tell the backs, I'm going to the flag. If you want to score, you get on my butt. And he would head for that flag, and he would score.
Playing next to him was really an honor, because what he would do is the days that I didn't feel like playing or practicing or whatever, he was always the guy, so you got to get it up, you got to keep it going. And we played together 15 years. It was like the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing at all times, and that made us a unique unit.
The demands placed on Raider linemen by the offense's basic design were also quite unique. Quarterback Ken Stabler needed more than 3.2 seconds to throw. And the success of the Raiders' power passing game depended heavily upon Shell and company creating clear sight lines. The Raiders' Fab Five shouldered the burden quite well.
Pass blocking was very tough. It was very tough because we had to sustain our blocks a lot longer than other teams. We were always a seven-step team, seven-step drop, which means we were holding the ball longer, which put a lot more pressure on us. And we blocked until the doggone ball was going and the whistle blew. That's how long we blocked. And there were times I know we sit up in meetings and watch the film. And Stabler, you know, he had this habit of dropping in the pocket and standing like a statue surveying the field. And there's nobody near him. So we sit up in a meeting one day. Gene said, Snake, just kind of move a little bit left and right so they can think they get a little bit of pressure on you. Don't stand there like a statue. Just move a little bit to the left and move a little bit to the right. Because what happens, all the other teams start screaming, they're holding. But we weren't holding. We were just doing a pretty good job of pass protecting. And it was something that we took a lot of pride in.
Another source of Raider pride was the brutal simplicity of their ground game.
Whatever the defensive player did, it was going to be wrong. If he took an inside move, we'd take him to the inside. If he took an outside move, we'd knock him to the outside. If he stood there, we'd run right over him. So he couldn't win.
You okay, Pitts?
Man down.
Huh? You get out there on that little sucker, he don't know what to do. Pitts, I hit him with a forearm a while ago, so he's out. He's not on his feet. Oh, yeah.
We believe that you can't stop us. If we're coming off the ball and we're getting after you, you can't stop us. I don't care what you do.
On the final day of the 1976 season, the Raiders played in the big one.
We knew going into that game that we could beat the Minnesota Vikings. We knew if we got past their front four, the rest of the guys were not in a big hurry to make a tackle.
We got backed up near the goal line and we needed to get out of there because they were in good position. And Clarence jumped out of there and George Beeler pulling from the other side and Van Egan kicking out on the linebacker. And he jumped out of there and went 60-something yards on the play, I think it was. And so then I think John knew that we need to give Clarence the ball a little bit more today.
Clarence Davis had his biggest day as a pro, and Shell actually contained Marshall to the point where he didn't make any statistics. He didn't have a sack, he didn't have an assist, he didn't have a tackle. It was almost like 10 men playing for them.
The Raiders' starting 11 set a Super Bowl record for total offense, and it all began with 5 men up front.
Bankston on the right side as a wingback. Stabler back to pass. A quick throw into the end zone. Casper, touchdown Raiders!
In the history of pro football, no offensive line ever dominated a season quite like this one.
To look back and to look at all of the lines that have ever been assembled and to be called the greatest, it's really an honor. I have a picture of that whole group, and we keep it, and it means a lot to us because we had a uniqueness about us.
Long before there was an Air Jordan in sports, there was a phenomenon known as Air Coryell. Our selection for the greatest receiving unit ever is the San Diego Chargers threesome of Charlie Joyner, John Jefferson, and Kellen Winslow.
So, Kellen, a friend of mine told me that you felt like you were the best receiver the Chargers ever had, even when I was there. How can that be?
What is the question?
I mean, I was the best receiver while we was there. Okay, so I left early, but while we was there, I had to be the best.
Without me, John, down the middle, you never would have got the ball. You never would have seen that deep 8 route. That slant route would have been eaten up because those linebackers would have jumped all over you. Without me in the middle, you were nothing.
People never got the opportunity to really see the real John Jefferson because you never stayed in the block. You always wanted to go out for the pass.
Blocking was not in my contract, okay? If they wanted me to block, they would have paid me twice as much as they did.
Wait a minute. I remember when you came out of Missouri, I was the guy who taught you how to catch with one hand.
While there might be some debate as to who was the best individually, as a trio, John Jefferson, Kellen Winslow, and Charlie Joyner formed the greatest receiving unit that ever played in the NFL. Each player lent his own special skills to one of pro football's most explosive offensive attacks. Built by head coach Don Coryell and piloted by quarterback Dan Fouts, Air Coryell was powered by its gifted and daring pass catchers. The most flamboyant of this group was wide receiver John Jefferson.
JJ was our deep threat. He was our big play guy. When we ran that deep 8 route, that inside 8, or that quick slant, you miss John Jefferson, he's gone.
Downfield, cut. He's at the 20, the 10, the 5, touchdown, San Diego.
If the ball was thrown anywhere in his zip code, you knew that John Jefferson was going to catch that ball. If the defender was right there next to him, you knew he was going to come up with that football. And his timing on jumps when he's running down the sideline and jumping over a defender, unparalleled.
In 1980, Jefferson caught 13 touchdown passes. He also led the NFL with over 1,300 receiving yards while averaging over 16 yards per catch. Charlie Joyner's contributions to Jefferson's totals were often subtle, but highly effective. While Jefferson was the Chargers' flashy big playmaker, Joyner was San Diego's dependable proven pro.
Charlie Joyner, mid-range receiver, the wily veteran who knew what zone the defense was going to play before they played it. Who was so in sync with Dan Fouts, you became jealous of their relationship. You were envious of their relationship, how they worked so well together.
For a time, Charlie Joyner was the NFL's all-time leading receiver, and in 1980, his talents produced over 1,100 yards on 71 receptions. With Joyner and Jefferson outside, San Diego's offense exploded with the addition of tight end Kellen Winslow, number 80, who led the league with 89 receptions in 1980. Opponents who chose to double cover the Chargers' wideouts were burned down the middle by a 6'5", 245-pound tight end who literally opened up the San Diego offensive attack.
I think it opened up everything. I mean, it opened up the secondary because now you had to pay a lot of attention inside to the tight end. Now you had to keep some safeties home. Now the linebackers couldn't drop as deep to take a shot at you on those slants route that we spoke of. They all have to stay at home, which opened up a lot of things outside for Charlie and myself. And also, with Charlie and myself outside, it opened up a lot of things for Kellen when he came in.
The numbers that this trio posted were staggering.
We played the New York Giants in San Diego. It was the first time in the history of the National Football League that 3 receivers in a game, the true receivers, 2 wide receivers and a tight end, all went over 100 yards receiving in the same ball game. I think it was the first time in NFL history that 3 receivers, again, the two receivers and the tight end, each went over 1,000 yards for the season. We were statistically listed in the top 5 in the AFC in all 3 major categories: touchdowns, receptions, and yardage. I think we all thrived on the fact that we respected each other's abilities and that there was enough balls to go around. JJ's catch was my catch. Charlie's touchdown was my touchdown. I know they were just as happy for me when I did something. It was like we all did the same thing and we all went to one pot.
In just 2 shining seasons, the way these men played the game has made them unforgettable. Their physical skills and records are but a part of the true story of this unique receiving trio. For you see, their real lasting legacy is the mutual respect each earned as a member of pro football's greatest receiving unit.
Okay, yeah, you did. All right, you taught me to catch with one hand, but let's admit it. The best was Charlie Joyner.
Okay. Charlie, let me think about it. He was the best.
Well, he was the oldest and he was the best.
He was the best. He was the smartest, and
That's
he was
true.
the best.
Yeah, he was.
Now, Dan thought he was the best.
Well, that's another subject.
But he couldn't catch.
He couldn't run.
He was only quarterback.
Well, he was overpaid.
He didn't count.
Don Hutson was really the first wide receiver. He played for the Packers from 1935 through 1945. He led the league in touchdowns 8 times. He had 300 more receptions than the next best receiver of his era, and his career 99 touchdowns were 3 times as many as his closest rival. Nevertheless, the greatest receiver ever is Jerry Rice.
When everything is on the line, you know, I would like to have the football. I like having the weight on my shoulders.
Well, there's 2 seconds left. The 49ers will have a chance to throw one, and Montana will get one throw. Here's Montana throwing for the end zone. Rice late, he's got it! Touchdown, 49ers!
I think if you're going to be the best receiver to ever play the game, you're going to have to be able to take on the pressure of making the big plays. You know, I like being aggressive. Whenever the ball is up in the air, I believe the ball belongs to me. And that's the attitude that you have to have.
Jerry Rice has carved a storybook career by rewriting the NFL record book. But what makes him so exciting to watch is that he doesn't always catch a pass in textbook fashion.
It's almost like he'd be in the middle of catching the football and he'll say to himself, I don't really feel like doing the technical right way here. I'm going to just throw my arm up and try to just see if I can do it with one finger.
Back to throw, launches it down the right side. Rice is there. Oh my! A one-handed catch down the sidelines. One of his greatest catches.
While spectacular catches are a Rice trademark, what he's capable of doing after the catch is equally spectacular.
So many receivers, once they catch the football, they feel like their job is over and they just fall down. But with me, I feel once I catch the football, the excitement is just starting. So somehow I'm going to try to keep my balance and try to get into the end zone.
It took Rice just 8 seasons to become the NFL's all-time leader in receiving touchdowns.
Rice over the middle. He's got it. The defender falls down. Rice should be able to go into the end zone.
Without a doubt, hands down, Jerry Rice is the best receiver to play in the National Football League. His mental strength is incredible, and that's the thing that allows him to catch a ball and say, look, I'm going all the way. I'm not going to beat the 9.
Once again, they're coming hard. He gets the pass away. Rice catches it. Broke a tackle, broke another. He's down the sideline. He's to the 35, to the 30, to the 20, to the 15. Cuts into the middle. Gets to the 2. Carries the defender to the end zone. Michael Stewart. Touchdown, 49ers.
Jerry has the ability to turn a short pass into a long gain very easily, and his biggest asset is he has great going from 0 to full speed and great football speed, as they say, because you don't see him being caught from behind by guys who are faster than him, but yet he can get going from that catch and almost stop to full speed as quick as anyone.
He has a tremendous knack of catching the ball going up the field. The thing that makes like Emmitt Smith a great runner, he runs straight ahead. Shortest distance between 2 points is straight ahead. Other guys do this and that. He goes straight. Jerry Rice, if you notice, most of the time he's catching the ball, he's going for the goal line. He's always going up the field. He's the best receiver I've ever seen.
He must be the greatest receiver. He's a bad man.
In 1987, Rice scored an incredible 23 times in only 12 regular season games. Number 80 has established himself as a touchdown-making machine.
Out in front is Rice. He is there. He's got it. He's at the 40. It'll be a touchdown for the 49ers. 96
Probably the only person that I've ever seen compete as hard as Jerry Rice is Michael Jordan. And the greatest thing that I see that Michael Jordan had is that his will to win, his will to compete. That's what Jerry Rice has, his will to be the best.
Rice's will to be the best has made him particularly productive in big game situations. He holds the NFL mark for postseason scores, including a Super Bowl record 7 touchdowns.
Montana to throw. He wants the end zone. Rice has got it! Touchdown 49ers!
The 1994 season began with Rice needing to cross the end zone just 3 times to eclipse Jim Brown as the NFL's all-time leader in total touchdowns. Rice scored all 3 of those touchdowns in the season's very first game. With the 7th rushing touchdown of his career, Rice tied Brown at 126. Then, in true Jerry Rice style, he became the greatest touchdown maker in pro football history.
And he is looking for Jerry. And Rice is there. And he's into the end zone. He's done it. Jerry Rice, in the 75-year history of the National Football League, is the touchdown scorer of the century. There's no one particular catch that describes Jerry Rice, whether it's a one-handed miracle, whether it's 2 hands over the top of the defender, or it's racing and streaking between defenders. Rice has done it every way. He passes Jim Brown tonight. He passes Walter Payton tonight. And he stands alone at the pinnacle of National Football League history. The greatest touchdown scorer in the entire history of professional football, Jerry Rice, number 127.
You know, I still have to pinch myself because I can't believe some of the things I have done here. It's really just for the love of the game, because when I go on the football field, I take a lot of pride in what I do. I like entertaining 60,000 people. I like for people to come up and say, well, Jerry, you had a great game. And we found so much enjoyment just watching you out there on the football field. So it's almost just like an inspiration thing, because you have older people that really get a joy out of what you do.
In Volume 1 of the Greatest Ever series, we took a look at the greatest plays ever. We've just finished our review of the greatest players. I hope you'll join me in Volume 3. That's entitled The Game. That's got the greatest stories, feuds, single-game performances, and a lot of other good stuff. For NFL Films, I'm Steve Sable.